nice sip.
So it's board games good.
Yeah. And today we're going to talk about components in board games.
Cool. So, you know, the importance of them. Obviously the shiny compared to the maybe less so shiny. Less shiny. But yeah, I mean, what's your sort of take on that then, man?
Well, yeah, it's good to have nice tactile, visual things to get you excited about the game. What can annoy me sometimes is when you get like quite an intricate board, and then if you've only got flat cardboard tiles that you put on it,
doesn't really build up the whole 3D scape of it.
And you're sometimes like, is that a tile?
Yeah.
Or is that just the board?
I get what you mean. But then is that the art direction of the board and the components, maybe?
Well, because I mean that happens a lot in Small World. Like I quite like because they're nice thick hard, tiles. It's good quality. And I imagine if it was made out of minis,
it'd be a nightmare.
Super hard. But because the board is quite bright, colourful, and slightly busy, when you've got your little other tile on there, it's quite hard to see where everything is.
Cool.
No, I'm not saying that you want plastic miniatures for it.
Sure, that would be a bit of a nightmare in terms of trying to figure out how to stack them all up and that. But
yeah.
And then the other thing that comes into this is obviously the price of manufacturing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like at the moment, if you think of Small World, how much that would cost if you had a shed load of minis that came with it, you're probably doubling the price of the game.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that you can have in Small World, so that's another thing to kind of maybe think about. But I get where you're coming from. I mean, I think they did actually do a deluxe Small World at one point, which came in like a big chest with massive wooden bits and pieces. You probably find that for £1,000 somewhere now, probably more. So there's one of those limited run things that most people are like, I'm not paying $400 for that, and that's worth like 7 times that, which is probably a good investment. But I mean, I'm kind of I wrote an article about this recently, like how in terms of getting the components to gel with the game, it kind of depends on how much you want to pay.
Yeah.
But also, does the game need it? Because a good game's a good game regardless of components.
Yeah.
For example, if you take Small World, I don't think it's less of a game for not having minis in it. I think it's actually quite fun to just kind of chuck around little cardboard chips and that.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about components,
do
you also mean like you'll play a tableau?
Everything's a component, my friend.
Because then Terraforming Mars.
Oh my god, here we go. So this is, well, if you're watching this, you're a nerd, you understand all this sort of stuff. Terraforming Mars at this point, oh my god, what a horrible situation that is. So what is it? At the moment it's about 60 quid, something like that. You get a tableau that you need to put all these tiny little cubes on. No grooves like in Scythe. You don't have like a double board or anything. The most important tableau you're ever going to use in a game. A singular bit of paper that you can knock quite easily and ruin your game.
Yeah.
And then you've got that whole contentious thing of no, your steel production was on 4, not 7.
So you've got an overlay for that.
I bought an overlay for it.
Yeah, it's just necessary. It is.
100%. You need necessary. It's 100% you need that.
So that's the thing that you would probably have to get. Well, you do have to get because it is.
I would say so. Unless you're super careful.
Unless you're super careful.
Which, let's be honest, we're not.
No. Because you've also got the sort of the 3D printed tiles and stuff, which you don't need.
No.
Like, that doesn't make it any worse of a game, any better of a game, but it doesn't make it look...
This is the thing, isn't it? I mean, if you're willing to pimp out your games and you're willing to spend that money, which, at the end of the day, we thought it was, because it's a game we play quite a lot, friends and family like it. Essentially, if a game hits the table a lot and there are optional extras, we'll probably invest in that, because it's just fun and it gives you a bit of variety. But you are right, although you don't need these things, they do add to a game.
Yes.
But it depends on that price point and how much they. But those 3D tiles are really fun because there's just something about seeing, instead of just the colour of this map has changed a bit. The actual 3D scape of it looks amazing.
It enhances the game.
Yeah, big time. You actually feel like you're terraforming Mars. So it's kind of an interesting thing to literally put something that looks like a forest down or like a city. So you have this like landscape on a board, and everybody loves it when they bring them out. But then again, it doesn't. I don't think it makes it less of a game by using the original bits and pieces. I think in terms of those hexagonal tiles, you don't necessarily need the 3D ones. Whereas with the overlay, I'd say you 100% do.
Yeah.
Surprised me they haven't brought out like a Terraforming Mars Deluxe version.
Yeah.
Well, they've included like insane components. Cause,
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, mate. There's people out there, they would pay 150 quid for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of insane when you think about it.
Yeah.
But then you've got things like, we brought up Anachrony last time.
Yep.
When you have like the actual exosuits. And
Yeah.
Literally, there's something special about putting that little worker inside a robot and then going off you go. But then I would be, let's say you had it around your house, you didn't have the suits, I would still play Anachrony with the little hexagonal bits.
Yeah. But you'd miss it though. You'd miss
I think I would miss it, this is the thing. But it's still a good game, which is nice. But then if you take a game that you would say maybe isn't your favourite game in the world, but it did have good components, what's your take on that? Would you be more willing to play it, or would you just go, that's a terrible game?
Well, if it's not a fun game to play,
yeah,
then it doesn't matter how good or
exactly.
That's like we were talking about with the theme. If it's a really bad game, but it's the theme that you love, you're still not going to want to play it.
Totally. And this is kind of where I come.
Well, when I was going to mention, the good old Dark Souls. Like I want to play it. I'm not going to play it yet. I like Dark Souls. The minis look great.
Sure. The thing is, though, I mean,
it's not a great game.
I don't think so. It's just my personal opinion, of course. There's a lot of people that will like it. I'm sure.
Matt enjoyed it.
Yeah. Again, it's an interesting one. I think that with Dark Souls, for me, it was the grinding for way too long. If they made it a much easier grind, I know you're going to have some like Dark Souls guys in the background going, "No, it's not the point."
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a 6-hour game, mate. You know what I mean? And for me, you need some sort of, I don't know, maybe if you had like a Dark Souls party or something, you came dressed as crazy things and you wanted to spend 6 hours hating your life, then that's fine. But at the end of the day, I think that when it comes down to it, the components are beautiful and that would take the edge off a bit.
Yeah.
Whereas if the components were also horrible, I'd be way less. Obviously I'm hating on this game a little bit, but again, I'm doing it for comedy effect, if I'm honest. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, the components do take that kind of edge off.
Yeah.
So I don't mind because you are seeing these beautiful things along the board and all that. But I think the gameplay is so much involved in that.
Yeah. And another game that you've got upgraded components for, right? Rising Sun.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
No, that was a hell of a...
You love getting all the extra bits, don't you?
Well, I'm a dirty completionist, so I have to.
Little magpie.
The little magpie. But
that is now your new gaming name.
The little magpie, it's also my fight name as well. People are afraid of me, it's weird. But when it comes down to it, if you have... again, it comes back, I guess, to that 3D element of being able to see that, I do have loads of strongholds knocking about. It's really obvious to see. And those turtle ones, the turtle strongholds that you can actually move across the board, and they literally, it does help.
Yeah.
And I think, again, if you want to talk about a game that is massively pimped nowadays, is Scythe. You've got the realistic resources, and you have the metal coins, and just that weird ching you get when you're chucking them into bowls, or you're throwing them across the table. Ooh! Yeah. There's just something a bit special about that. So I think the components are definitely important. They're not necessarily 100% needed, but I think they're always going to be welcome.
Well, you need components.
Yeah, you don't want components. Imagine the game.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons, again, pretty cool.
Well, again, so that's a good sort of example. Dungeons and Dragons, all you need is the book, your character sheet, and dice. That is all you need to play it. And your brain. But then a lot of people, will then go super deep into like either just getting like just your graph paper to draw your map on, that's super basic, or you can get like Dwarven Forge resin tiles and make up some elaborate Critical Role style.
Well, this is my question, because I've never actually managed to get D&D to a table. I'm just mad busy, and board games sort of scratch at age.
Well,
it's not as good. But what you're going to find is that I've never experienced both of those, but I seem to have an idea of I would rather have it in my head than on the table, because that's kind of dictating to me how I should imagine something. Yeah. I don't know what you're sort of...
Generally, how I would do it, I think how most people would do it is, a lot of it is theatre of the mind, and then when you get into either like a complicated combat or... Yeah, generally if it's a complicated combat, then it goes to the board. Cool. So then it's more of a tactical positioning game.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's how I would tend to do it.
Interesting. No, that makes sense.
Mainly because it's just easier to have it all sort of set out. So instead of some of the players are like, oh, but you said they're only 40 feet away when actually they were 50.
Right, okay.
It's like, oh,
it's more of a contention thing.
Yeah, so it's just to make it nice and clear, really.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, it's just interesting to me that you see loads of people do it different ways.
Oh, yeah.
Well, again, there's no right or wrong. It's just interesting to hear from someone who's actually done it, which is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of friends I've got that have done RPGs and stuff like that as well.
I say, yeah. Well, I'd say a lot of the RPGs, very little components to it, are very popular. But you always have the ability and options to pimp it up and
which is fun. Like that's not
oh yeah oh yeah.
And I think that people they spend money on their hobbies. You talk to somebody who's deficient, they'll tell you they spent £1,000 on a rod, and you're just like, what? But then that being said, I do think that there's something special about pushing some interesting components around the board.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about it again. Splendor.
Yeah, 100%. Now that's an interesting point, because a lot of people say there's not much of a game there, but the components make the game.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of a rare combination.
Yeah.
There's not many games where you wouldn't buy it. You would buy it, sorry, because it's a bad game with good components. I don't say it's not a bad game, but like
it's a simple. It's not too in depth. I mean, it's got the same purpose.
Would it sell as much if it had cardboard chips?
No,
not at all. Which is a really fun kind of point.
Yeah.
But again, there's something like I really like poker, for example, and like that. Just playing around with the chips. There's something amazing about that. And funnily enough, and I've mentioned this before, that brass not expansion, the remake is coming in soon, and that's actually got poker chip type coins.
Yeah.
And they look beautiful, and they've given you an option to buy an extra box, which I might have done. But when But when it comes down to it, like there's something cool about having that experience. Like it's the same sort of thing of, would you go to a movie theatre that has an incredible sound system and all the rest of it, or would you just watch it at home?
Yeah.
It's that interesting kind of thing. It's still going to be a good movie. Hey. Components, mobile phones. Talking about that, XCOM. Wow, segue. Yes. So then, would you consider like an app to be like a component? Because the actual XCOM thing is amazing. Like I know there's lovers and haters out there of XCOM. That's going to be every game ever, I imagine. But I really like the fact that it gives you that countdown. And you have like an interaction with something that isn't just take all the time in the world. It kind of adds that extra element into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think sort of technology and apps in board games is probably a different conversation.
Yeah. You forced me into it, mate.
I know.
Trying to do my best.
Because you're a professional, and I am not.
Yeah, you are, mate. Don't worry about it.
I mean,
it's an interesting one. That's all. Like, I find that when it comes down to the whole idea of like, does it really matter to have great components? You're probably thinking no. Like another great example, one of my favourite games of all time in terms of getting into the table just for a simple laugh is Alhambra. Yeah. Now, somehow I managed to track down I think it was the 10th anniversary edition, the gold one. So you actually get like the wooden fountains and all the extra sort of cool things, the big board instead of just like the two things. That, in my opinion, made all the difference. Now then again, I don't know whether it was because the first time I'd seen it had that, and that's what I expected. Yeah. But that was huge for me. That was like, oh my god, this is so much better. Except for Salmon. Flat cardboard tiles. Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps you get a bit more involved, a bit more immersed. Which is say what we always really enjoy about board games. Absolutely. Is getting immersed in it. Hashtag t-shirt. That'll happen at some point, I imagine. Oh, it's those guys, brilliant. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I think you're right. It's that feeling of I'm in the game a bit more, and you're enjoying that time maybe a little bit more. Yeah. Like, again, we'll talk about it a lot. Laws of Waterdeep. Yep. If the cubes were shaped meeples, indeed, you'd probably enjoy it a bit more. Yeah, I think so. I think that it comes down to whatever you kind of look for in a game. Like, I mean, let's take that example. How many people have you played Lords of Waterdeep with, and instead of going, I need a fighter, 2 rogues and a wizard, they've gone, I need an orange, two whites and a black. No. It's mad, like how many people just kind of turn it into like an accountancy game. Yeah. Which is cool. People still enjoy it. I mean, if another benefit of having meeples, like actual different shaped meeples, is if you're colourblind. Yes. That's a huge point, actually. Then they're all just
same coloured cubes and you can't really tell.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk online about certain games that you can't play if you are colourblind, which is a shame. Now, obviously, they haven't done it on purpose. But when you really start to think about those issues, oh yeah, wow, there could be an amazing game that you literally can't play because your eyes won't play with you, which is a bit of a shame. I suppose another thing we could talk about is components. Fair enough, but storing them. Yeah. What a nightmare. So sometimes you get a really good insert. So for example, Lords of Waterdeep, the box lid's the problem, but the actual insert and keeping all the bits and pieces in is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mysterium do a pretty good insert, I think, where everything's in the right place. But then if you look at a cool mini or not game like Blood Rage or Rising Sun, there's like 7 boxes or something sometimes. It's a bit of a pain. And then obviously you can buy in those inserts as well, so something to think about if you're going to go mad with that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So I think generally what we're saying is components are very important. They help you get immersed in the game. But if it's a good game and the components are just the basics,
it should hold up on its own.
Yeah.
But obviously if you can stretch a little bit, do so. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean it's just going to enhance your enjoyment.
Absolutely.
So with that, we'll sign off and see you next time.
Awesome. Leave a comment in the doobly-doo, as they used to call it. My brain's just got a bit weird. But obviously, all that sort of good stuff.
All of that.
Professional.
We're so professional.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.
The Blusker fighting blood.
Right, let's.
No, don't touch it. Oh, mate, every time.